you can't connect the dots looking forwards. You can only connect them backwards. I sat there and I started just observing what did I do or what synchronicity that happened in order to come to this very particular outcome.
To be aware, you really have to understand what your faculties are. And it actually, you have to pause. You literally have to pause, take a step back and understand, okay, what kind of just happened? Because as per the definition, you don't really know it right away when it's happening, but you're able to sort of reflect back and see all these little breadcrumbs of how all these little events have happened and how they actually perfectly fit without any rational thought, how they perfectly fit into where you are today.
Welcome to the Alchemy of Success podcast. I'm Anna.
I'm Pedro. And today's topic is going to be synchronicity.
And this topic has been born out of synchronicity. And before I jump a little and to share with you why synchronicity is so important topic, maybe to tell you how we came across, as I was just sharing with Pedro, we were preparing our next episode, and I was searching for some naming convention on YouTube, and I came across a video about synchronicity and Carl Jung. And I don't know how many of you are aware, but Carl Jung is one of the most renowned psychology coming out of Germany. And for example, myself, I had no clue that he actually went on a deep researches of the topic of synchronicity. And he defined also synchronicity as something that is coming together. So it's coming together from inner and outer events in a way that cannot be explained by cause and effect. So it's not that we're causing and then we just see the outcome. And it's only meaningful to the observer. What does it mean? It means that if this synchronicity happens to me, I can put the meaning to it. But if somebody, for example, like Pedro is just walking with me, he won't see the synchronicity for him because it's something coming out of my inner world that became a reflection in the outer world. Or maybe you have heard about Steve Jobs. And there was one sentence before I even went on this path of coincidences, synchronicity, intuition, and so on. And this sentence, he said, you can't connect the dots looking forwards. You can only connect them backwards. And back there, I was like sitting and just analyzing this sentence. And I was thinking, yeah, right. How often when something happens to me that was from significant importance, especially, I sat there and I started just observing what did I do or what synchronicity that happened in order to come to this very particular outcome, meeting this person, creating this opportunity. And it is so powerful. So that's why Pedro will go a little deeper on why synchronicity is like a major piece for alchemizing your success in life.
So thank you, Anna. And like Anna said, it's part of it is being the observer. One of the most important things, the inner and the outer world is very important because it's just being self-aware. That's one of the most important things in order to be successful in whatever success is to you. Because to be aware, you really have to understand what your faculties are. And it actually, you have to pause. You literally have to pause, take a step back and understand, okay, what kind of just happened? Because as per the definition, you don't really know it right away when it's happening, but you're able to sort of reflect back and see all these little breadcrumbs of how all these little events have happened and how they actually perfectly fit without any rational thought, how they perfectly fit into where you are today. And maybe it opened a new opportunity. Maybe it led you to a path of enrichment, whatever that is. But it's really forcing you to pause and start taking a look back. And what is what we called, just so you guys know, what we call being the observer, right? Observing yourself, observing that's what's around you, observing everything that's in your vicinity. So it allows you to really have that larger point of view, and not just be in the middle of everything. Just literally take a step and have that larger point of view. And if you do that in life, in your personal life, it's an amazing thing. It really is, because it also gives you gratitude. It gives you gratitude, and obviously that also applies to business, but also in your personal life, really importantly. And obviously we could go into the topic of what it could lead to in regards to intuition. And Anna and I have a lot of experience in this, because and Anna will actually start telling you her side of the story, and I'll tell you my side of the story, how we actually even created this podcast, how it came about. Anna, go ahead, give them a little flavor for it.
It's completely
Yeah.
It's like actually impossible to make it that way, because I don't know whether you are aware, but I'm sitting in Germany. Pedro is sitting in United States, and we never met each other. We have no actually people in common that we know each other.
Yeah, we don't know anybody from our circles.
Exactly. But what happened is that last year, also synchronicity, I was doing a long program about body and mindset connection through movement called Flow 60. And my trainer in this program, who was sitting in Sweden, introduced me to a small workshop where a guy called Sal was talking about very interesting topic that hits to me. And he lives in America. So I searched for him out of curiosity, and coincidentally saw that in 2 days he's giving a training, a workshop where you can learn different techniques in hypnosis and meditation that you can implement for healing, for manifestation, and different areas. And I was like, I haven't even planned to do something like that, but I had this, and that is what is also very important, to be able to observe the synchronicities, to start be more aware of this inner voice, this intuition. Some say it's our inner voice inside, the other say intuition. I always say it like my gut feelings. And I had suddenly this urge and gut feelings. I need to go and do this 3 days event. So I booked a car. I called the lady organizing everything. I drove down. I organized someone to take care of my child and went and had these 3 amazing days where I learned a lot. And out of this topic, a lot of other topics happens in my life, but one of the ladies being a part of this community creates like a monthly getting together sessions, that, you can join if you'd like, and if not, not. And that is how actually on one session, I coincidentally had the feeling, okay, I'm joining. And I think, Pedro, that was the first and the last time where I have experienced you in these meetings, because after that, I know I've been joining almost every month. So actually also synchronicity, because it's not like you have been joining every month and me after that, but it was this very particular time. Maybe before we go from this situation, you can share with me how you came across this group to be a part of the community.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I don't know if you guys, maybe I'll just give you a reset of what I do. So I leverage hypnosis and meditation, right, to help clients overcome a lot of obstacles in their life, a lot of challenges, you would say. And obviously, this modality or this technique that we are learning or have already learned, Anna and I, we've been certified already. It basically is just an extension for my business, right? So I was just curious because it came up. My wife actually read Sal's books, and I was interested after reading the book. So I just explored, nothing, just the purpose and the mindset of just having another offering, another way to help people, right? Something to do as an extension of that.
Another tool in
another tool in my toolbox.
Exactly.
That's the other thing, guys. If you're watching, listening, whatever you're doing, just keep learning. Life is full of growth. Do it, right? Whatever interests you, whatever calls you, just do it for whatever reason. Just keep learning, keep growing, right? So I got involved in that. And then, like Anna said, there's a bunch of us there at that meeting. And a couple of people stood out, and Anna was one of them. Right? As she was, I think you were guiding that meditation. Were you guiding that day?
Yeah, because they asked
yeah.
to do it, and I didn't want to do it, but nobody was offering to do it. So I was like, okay, as nobody's willing to do it, I'm gonna do it. And that was very crazy because I never guided meditation before for the whole group. So that's
right.
Actually my first time.
I remember that now. Yeah, because I told you, the person that's leading this, right? Yeah, Jolanta, that I don't want to. I was guiding before. I know you didn't attend the classes I used to attend before, but I used to keep guiding them. And I said, I think I told you, Anna, like, no, go ahead and do it. You got this. Go ahead, you do it. It's your turn. And yeah, she did a fantastic job, by the way, guys. She's amazing.
and I came across with this, and that is how I think everything started rolling, because it was one of the ladies had some condition where she didn't feel good. So we wanted to send her more like, healing and support. So I very intuitively created the flow into the meditation. And because Pedro was the only man in the group at this time. So all
usually
the others women. And we were talking about my power woman community. So like how I came across from this like power strong woman into more, going into more feminine energy and integrating this one. And I was at this time looking for more better way to balance the masculine and the feminine energy, not only within me, but to find a good expression way how to bring this topic to more awareness in the outer world.
Mm-hmm.
And Pedro, in the same time, you were working with a lot of men,
yes.
coming from corporate, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So my practice, I've been fortunate enough where a lot of men do come seek my services, right? And I've noticed this thing that the lack of expression, it's unbelievable how we are so suppressed of our emotions and our thoughts sometimes, because you've been told and we bred this way to grow up in a certain way, right? All the dogmas we've been fed. So I saw this beautiful feminine energy that needed to be expressed, because we all have both sides, right? Obviously we're more masculine than feminine, most of us, right? But it's this beautiful expression that needed to be released, and in different ways. So I was hoping to have people get a little connected and just be self-aware. That would help them not only with their families and themselves, more importantly, their self-growth, but also could bleed out into their careers. And we already discussed topics like empathy, right? Like how important it is, or at least discuss the meaning of that. So I thought it was so beautiful. So when she was saying that, I was like, wait a minute. I also want to do the same thing on the opposite side. Also with the corporate folks, because I think there's a great opportunity for people to just maybe find something within themselves. Right? So
corporate or like entrepreneurship. So
entrepreneurship, absolutely.
Both way where
absolutely
currently is more like masculine driven, make it happen, energy to help them balance. Because I saw in my corporate work how much burnout, how much depression, how much bore out, and Forbes was publishing few months ago that bore out is even higher than burnout because of the lack of the possibility to express emotion on a very healthy way. Expressing emotion doesn't mean to cry or to shout out, but it means to be aware of them and to be able to articulate it. And I was doing this with women in entrepreneurship and corporate, and Pedro, mostly with men, you have also women. But also, we find, guys, did you experience, now I say this word, did you experience this situation where you meet someone and suddenly you have the feeling like there is a good connection, that is how I felt when we were talking in this round with Pedro and discussing all of this. So we stay connected. Mm-hmm. And we had like, I don't know, you sent me something about, Matthias De Stefano work that you are now approaching. And I answered very late on this. And then we did a session. Actually, you did a session for me. So till this moment, people, no idea of creating anything together and so on.
Right. None.
But in this session came one insight that is a little personal. So, we won't put it out there that make us think, okay, maybe all this happening there wasn't like so coincidentally. And, how does the idea of the podcast was born actually?
Well, because we actually started talking to each other, right? Texting, and then we communicated, and then you really sort of gave me your passion of what you wanted to achieve, and I gave you mine. And you said, great, maybe we should just collaborate somewhere or somehow. And you said, yeah, let's try to figure that out. And then we both like to talk.
Oh, yes.
So we said, I think collectively, you're like, let's just do a podcast. Like, yeah, great. And then off we ran. Off we went. Yeah.
And you know, the beauty of it, it's like how possible without this, like I told you, that was the only meeting where we actually interconnected. You were online and me also since then. Mm-hmm. And how possibly is like thousands of kilometers, people having the same idea, the one approaching it from the feminine side, the other one from the masculine. And one of the reasons why we also created this podcast is because we started talking about our path in corporate work. And we find out that we have a very similar experience, completely different, but yet very similar in the way how we felt and what happens. And I had more the feminine perspective. So how a woman feels in corporate world in a strongly also masculine dominated area, and how he as a man felt, and to understand better how this collaboration can bring companies, startups, collaboration between different entrepreneurs, solo entrepreneur, how when understand this dynamic of masculine and feminine energy. And it's an energy. It's like everybody has it within it, and the different perspective of a woman and a man, how we approach and see the world can really help each and everyone to redefine this definition of success. And that is how the name came, the alchemy of success, because it's really like alchemizing your very personal success. And this synchronicity are like nothing who consciously said, I'm going to go there and find someone to create a podcast and to talk about that. Not at all.
That's right. So, and remember what Anna said, guys, is it's the inner world and the outer world. So the inner world is our passion. What are you passionate about? So I want you guys at home. What are you passionate about? Okay. That really is stirring something that you don't understand. And it's okay to not understand, because that's what a gut feeling is called. Sometimes it starts that way. Or you just do what you need to do, or you think you're running, your day to day, but it starts with what is your inner world? What is your passion? Right? What interests you? What's your curiosity? And it's really good to tap into that, because it could lead to some amazing things. So that's how synchronicity is the combination of those two things, right? And guess what? It doesn't make sense at the moment. It makes absolutely no sense. But when you start looking back, you're like, wow, thank you. Makes perfect sense now. So, yeah.
And there was one example I gave Pedro before we started the recording was like, maybe you have experienced this one. Just try to remember a situation that you have maybe experienced. It's like, for example, somebody calls you, a friend, and say, hey, would you like to go for a dinner? And you're like, oh no, I want to stay at home and have Netflix and chill or whatever. And then maybe some minutes later, somebody else calls you with almost the same invitation, but something like you feel like this inner voice say, yeah, go out. And it's not that you like the one person more than the other one. And it's not like you like the one restaurant better than the other one. But sometimes this inner feeling tell us, okay, go there. Or don't go there. And then you follow it without knowing why, because actually there was no reason to go there. And then you suddenly meet someone, and this someone brings you to meet someone else. And then suddenly one opportunity opens and another doors opens, and you ended up like creating a project that you always was like, passionate, like Pedro said, about to create it. And without even realizing how all this happened, actually, I wanted to have Netflix and chill. And now I ended up here. Like me, for 3 years, I went for 1.5 weeks on a vacation in Dubai. And I stayed 2.5 months there, in total 6 months, and now moving there. And I never, ever had it in my mind. I never set it as a goal. I never, what happens out of this and how much synchronicity came out of this. It's like I can write a book about that. And the purpose why we are sharing this with you is not just to say, hey, look how good we are in synchronicity and so on, but it's more about to give you the following. When you start being aware, as Pedro said, and you start really like feeling into, oh, do I want to do this, or should I go there? Or maybe just grab a cup of coffee. Maybe sometimes even this 5 minutes delay before you go to the car can bring you to another synchronicity that bring you to another, that there doesn't seem to be interconnected. And came something beautiful. And in order to, I saw for me, for example, I started inviting and seeing more synchronicity even quicker through two top or tools. The one is the observer position. The Pedro can talk about that, the observer position. And the second one is I just starting saying myself that everything that happens to me is for me. That everything what happens brings me to something that will help me to my next step in the journey, even if I have no clue how, even if I don't understand it how. I just, and I'm going every day with this childish curiosity about excitement. Oh, what would show now that I have within me? I just thought about that, I just thought about that. And then suddenly I see it. And Pedro, maybe you can go on the tool about the observer and to see how you can create a magic within your days, within your weeks.
Yeah. And before I do that, I want to express something that you just said, Anna. And I want to make sure that the viewers or the listeners, right, at home understand what you just said is actually pretty powerful. When you start having the mindset of everything is done for me and not done to me, you're literally rewiring your brain already. If you've had the consistency of seeing things negatively, you are constantly just rewiring by just understanding that fact. First, understanding what those words mean to you, but also saying it consistently, rewiring your subconscious. Because when you start seeing things not from a victim perspective, but from an empowerment perspective, an excitement, a joy, a passion, that will lead to greater things in its own. Forget about the certifications, all the degrees, all that stuff, but that alone will lead you to something beautiful. So even that tiny little sentence, to understand the meaning of it, to really embody it, and to practice it consistently, it will help you in your life. And I would love for you to actually give us feedback as you really sit with that sentence. Give us feedback wherever you are and tell us how has it impacted after you implement it for a week, 2 weeks, but do something consistently and really feel how you've been seeing the opposite of it, where you keep saying everything has been done to me versus done for me. So I just wanted to pause that, Anna, because I think it's so important.
Perfect. No, thank you. Sometimes my brain is going so quickly.
Of course.
I have heard this sentence for so many times till I embody it. So that's why definitely when you're listening or watching to us, maybe you should write this sentence and just put it like on your laptop, on your mirror, I can tell you, I know I have many situations. I used to have many situations where I felt in more victim state, like you said. Oh, that happens to me, especially as a woman. You experience in a masculine dominated area, sometimes situation where it feels not very, it feels unjust. It feels like unfair. And I felt like, oh, that's because I'm a woman and all these kind of thoughts. But when I started rewiring it, like you say it, that's completely started changing and also helped me to see how sometimes a so-called quoted bad situation was a synchronicity that brought me to a place where I just get so much gift in my life. So much like, here are like all the presents that you can have because you had this quote unquote bad situation or synchronicity,
And now that leads perfectly to the topic of being an observer. Okay. So what I just did, I just gave you a live example of what an observer means. Somebody says a sentence, just say it naturally, flowing and naturally. It's up to me to observe what's actually being said and what I'm taking in out of it and what I can actually do with it. So I'm literally pausing as she's talking and I'm like, wow, I don't know if people see how profound that is. I'm observing and being present in that moment of what actually is being said and how something I could maybe bring to everybody else's attention. But you have to pause in order for it to do that. You have to recognize what's being said. Being an observer is just that. And it impacts in communication. It impacts in observing the events. It impacts in your perspectives in life. It impacts in what you want to do with your career. It impacts everything. Taking the pause and simply looking at it. And I know that all of you have probably heard this saying. If a tree falls in the forest somewhere else where you're not there, do you hear the tree fall on the ground? Do you hear it? And now, if you look at the scientific evidence, I think it literally just came out about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. They literally said that you have to be, essentially what I'm going to make it really simple for you guys. You have to be the observer, observing the tree falling down to actually be aware that something fell. Therefore, you hear the noise. You have to be present in order to do that. But does not mean it didn't happen. It does not mean it didn't happen. So the events that you go through life, as Anna was saying, you go to a restaurant or me and her were meeting at this random meeting, right? So, but you have to observe, you have to be self-aware of what's happening in that thing. What do you feel? What's triggering? What are you being led to? If you do that, you'll get better and better where you don't have to be 100% looking back. You'll actually be in the moment, in the transition of being aware of what's happening. And then you can actually do something about it even more positively if you choose to, or simply let it go and flow, right? But that is such a really important thing as just pausing. That's really, the tool is just pausing. Just quiet your mind, quiet your ego, shut it down and say, no. Don't fill me with these negative thoughts. Don't fill me with all these things. Because usually that's really our upbringing, our training and everything that we've experienced. But just pause and just sit with that. And if it helps you, breathe. Just breathe, take the air in, and simply let that pause you. Because you go back to the beat of the drum, the beat of the heart, right? It just calms you down. Then you're like able to understand, okay, what was actually just said to me? You don't know, maybe you don't know at the minute, but you know something because there's something stirring. The event happened, the intuition's kicking in, like, wait a minute, what's going on here, right? There's something there. And that's when you start exploring. So to me, that's really what it means to be the observer. And when you're in that position, and I know you're going to say this because you feel empowered. You feel empowered. You're a conscious being, right? You're more conscious of aware of what's going on.
Definitely. And that is the one way that really like being present in the moment and with others or with what is happening. What I observe by observing, that's really good. Why I observe by observing was also, and where you can start seeing the synchronicity in advance or in the moment that is happening is by starting observing our own thoughts and not the conscious thoughts. So not that one like, okay, I want to go now and to buy iced chocolate and an ice cream and make me an ice. So that's consciously thinking and following the thoughts. But we always have, like we share in our previous episodes, and we're going to go on this path way deeper in another future episode, is like 95% of our thoughts they think us, to say this way. So we are not thinking them, but they think us instead. It's like there is somebody talking to us with our own voice and bringing some thoughts and topics. Like, for example, you're in the middle of the meeting and suddenly, I need to buy this one. And, oh yeah, my mom told me this at the morning and so on. So suddenly out of nowhere, thoughts are coming. And I saw when I start observing these thoughts, especially these subconscious driven thoughts, the programs running, and then I observed what I thought, and then I was able to see a synchronicity that matched this thought. So that means not consciously thought. It just came up, and then something happens that confirmed this thought. I realize how powerful my subconscious mind is. For example, please don't look at any Porsche within the next week. Please don't focus on seeing a Porsche on the street next week. And I want you after 1 week is passed to come back and to comment how many Porsche did you actually encounter. I swear you're going to think that the whole city, whole town is full with Porsche. That happens to me, So that is how our subconscious mind works. So when we start observing these thoughts, and you're going to learn in future episodes how you can also better reprogram them, then you can start seeing, okay, because I thought that is the synchronicity happening. And now when you want to create more synchronicity that serves you, your success, your life, your joy, your happiness, your satisfaction, then we start here on the thinking part, reprogramming it. And then you're going to suddenly see how this synchronicity happening on this side open more beautiful doors and creating more opportunities, meeting the right people and so on. So that's why Steve Jobs, by realizing and saying it, you can only connect the dots back. But believe me, pretty sure at the end of his life, or actually when he take over Apple again back, he knew how to see the dots in the moment they came up. But it's sometimes difficult to explain it when you don't go on this path a little deeper. And I hope and I know that you have gained a lot of value out of this. So thank you for investing your time on this episode.
Now write down what is the most important takeaway and what inspired action are you committed to take within the next 72 hours.
And we're going to see you next Wednesday, same time, same spot. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for watching. Click on one of the videos below and don't forget to like and subscribe.